Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder released twice a day. Gotta say, he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, see, that's a joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase. Yes, it does come, of course, with a fun Picatinny rail adapter, so you can mount it to any standard AR-15 like all awesome accessories can be. To learn more, go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button to learn more, or click the URL in the video description below. Also going to have a first Q&A live stream. It's going to be Saturday, February 22nd at 6 p.m. Texas time, or some call it Texas time. Lastly, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part of the podcast, finally some good automotive news. After years of car companies axing big, glorious engines left and right, making more and more hybrids and smaller, menial, boring engines, we have some good news. BMW is going to save the V8 thanks to America. What can't we do? Now, this comes to us thanks to Motor1.com. Here you can see a beautiful BMW V8. This is specifically credited to Adrian, who's the writer there. It says, quote, BMW will keep the V8 engine because Americans love it. Buyers appreciate the V8 for its smoothness and glory. Sure, it's not the classic American V8, but it's still a thing of beauty in and of itself. Look at that giant BMW V8 taking pretty much every square inch under the hood, which, well, granted, not going to be fun to work on, but nevertheless, a wise ancient philosopher once said, there's no replacement for displacement, which, if not the automotive community or gearhead, displacement is the amount of, displacement in the cylinders, but I won't go too far down the technical rabbit hole. It is, I'm not crying. I'm not crying. It's just, it is so beautiful to see some confirmation we're going to have some big old V8s. Now, in terms of major manufacturers, they're axing them left to right. Stellantis also, under the, they own Dodge, famously killed the V8 on the 1500 series pickup truck because apparently they don't like making money and they're going to put in there, well, they are putting in the twin turbo V6 so they could lose sales because that thing is as reliable as a Ford. But nevertheless, they say, quote, the downsizing era isn't in full swing. BMW stopped selling the V12 7 Series in 2022, which they should have never done. Again, of all the cool things BMW has ever done, the V12 is glorious. I mean, shoot, it's the heart of the best car ever made and engineered and sold, the McLaren F1, which only comes with a stick shift, which should be default for all cars, but I partially digress. They say, but you can still have 12 cylinders in a Rolls Royce, but the V12 is never coming back to a car featuring your famous roundel. The V10 has been dead for 15 years, so you might wonder when the axe will fall for the V8, which that was one of the coolest things. One of my friends in IT, I want to say it was a 2001 era BMW, but he had a sedan with a huge V10 engine. And even when we were driving it at the time, it was probably 10 plus years old, but like it was one of the coolest cars there ever been. And just knowing there's a huge V10 engine under there and popping that hood, like it was just a cool thing. That's what I love about BMW. Well, they used to do that more often. Now they say, quote, so you might wonder when the axe will fall on the V8. Thankfully, that won't happen anytime soon. You can primarily thank Americans for keeping the 8-cylinder alive. You're welcome. We just love freedom. There are a few things more free and glorious than a beautiful V8 and an AR-15. Now, granted, the French did technically, I believe, invent the V8, though it was perfected and mass-produced first by Cadillac, I believe, in the United States. But nevertheless, we did perfect it. Now, they say, quote, in an interview with Automotive News, BMW development boss Frank Weber, which has to be the first, it's got to be the first German name I've pronounced right in ever. Nevertheless, Frank Weber clearly states, quote, V8s are here to stay. We will continue to offer the V8s. He explained that an electrified inline-six engine can't fully replace the brawny V8 in the eyes of buyers in the United States and the Middle East. Well, yeah, because we're not blind or unable to hear or feel. We have a soul. And there's a time and place for small engines. Again, there are some engines that are great for a straight six. BMW has a lot of good models in history of that. But yeah, there's some things where there's you should have a V8. Like, heaven forbid they ever put a smaller engine in a Corvette. It's bad enough it's already automatic, but I mean, that's had a V8 since 1956, which was originally a straight six, but they soon upgraded, obviously. Now, they say, quote, the research and development head honcho argued that even though a downsized hybrid powertrain delivers roughly the same performance and acceleration, customers like the smoothness, sound, and feel of a V8. You forgot to say the soul, obviously. Also, for longevity, one of the things gearheads really emphasize as well, in addition to all these aforementioned things he noted, well, it's also just reliability in terms of you'd rather have a larger engine working less than a smaller engine working harder to do the same thing. Also with hybrids, the Achilles heel of them, again, magical thing about technology is we might, by the time this video is rendered and uploaded, there might be a magical battery technology. But as of right now, the Achilles heel to EVs and hybrids, to me, is the long-term ownership and just the fact that they're going to depreciate not just like a rock, but how do you, I mean, the battery costs as much as the car, and you won't be able to service that long-term. Case in point, was the last time you know anyone using a 10-year-old iPhone? Yeah, they don't happen. That's going to be the same thing with the EVs, which is why I kind of disdain them. Here you can see another picture of the beautiful BMW engine bay with... Normally, I hate the stupid plastic crap they put on top of the engine for sound dampening, which I would argue real enthusiasts want to hear that. But, yeah, I guess it looks okay. This is better than the typical GM plastic they put on engines for the cover. This one's at least carbon fiber, which that's at least fancy. Now, they said, quote, but there's more than that. Emissions and regulations are substantially more relaxed in the U.S. than the Middle East and in just Europe. That could come at a time where larger BMWs will have a V8 engine in America, but not the 27 countries in the European Union that bound down to the authoritarian government over there. Yes, I did add a little bit there, but yes, quite pathetic how all these EU countries are bowing down to the regulations. And most pathetic, Germany of all the countries is bowing down and saying, okay, we won't make as many Porsches in Europe. We won't make as many of these other things because of the emissions. You're the largest contributing factor from a GDP perspective to the European Union, and yet they acquiesce and do whatever they want. How pathetic is that? And they're killing a lot of the heritage brands that are in Germany by acquiescing to EV mandates that'll force, China to take over. But I partially digress. Now, they say, quote, in fact, it already happened. The 760i isn't sold in the EU unless you opt for the armored and far more expensive 7 Series protection specialty model. Weber didn't mention which future models will have V8 engines, but it's not hard to identify some of them. Prototypes of the next generation X5 have been spy testing, and there are reports that BMW will also renew the X6 and X7. At the very least, 3 luxury SUVs are expected to retain 8 cylinders in the US. The twin-turbo 4.4-liter unit will likely continue in the Middle East and other parts of the world with less stringent legislation regarding emissions, also known as more freedom. At the end of the engine lineup, Europeans get, 3-cylinder BMWs. It's funny because that's pathetic. Almost as pathetic as the drivetrain from the BMW i8, which looked really cool, but then it had a 3-cylinder and hybrid powertrain, which, yeah, it was electric too. Yeah, BMW 3-cylinder with a tiny 1.5 turbocharged engine gasoline engines, which the Mini Cooper also uses, which, again, BMW owns them. You won't find any inline 3 engine in a car sold by BMW in the US. It's worth noting that the same parts worldwide, previous generation 3 Series, was sold with a 3-cylinder engine, which even today seems sacrilegious for a sports sedan that had a big old V8 at one point, which, yeah, talk about feeling like you're robbed. Imagine you have to buy a 3-cylinder piece of junk when places that have, more freedom, they get the good old V8, which, again, another reason why politics matter, especially in the automotive community. One of the most ridiculously overregulated industries, I'd say nearly bar none in terms of industries, comparable businesses. And yeah, some countries just really don't want you to have any fun. So finally, some refreshing good news after, how many articles have we talked about where, companies just axing the engines left and right, dropping options for, stick shifts. And it's good to have some, I'm perhaps a little bit less articulate than usual, which granted, it's saying something, but yeah, it's almost so befuddled reading such good news. I can barely contain my excitement. And go ahead and do me a favor, click that subscribe button. I have that theory. When I first started the show, no one tuned in. Well, maybe family. But as I got and I spoke faster than Ben Shapiro and probably as awkwardly stumbling my words as Joe Biden trying to walk upstairs, more or less. But as I slowly but surely gain more subscribers, I've become more and more articulate at speaking. Granted, yeah, it was a pretty low bar to begin with. Some might argue just a modicum of improvement, but statistically speaking, at least an improvement. So my theory goes, more subscribers, the better I speak, and someday I'll make it through a whole episode speaking perfectly articulately. Someday. So if you can go ahead and click that button, tell your friends, I'd greatly appreciate it. And let me know, would you ever get a 3-cylinder BMW, or would you have a glorious, beautiful V8, especially with 3 pedals? I know what I would choose, but let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.